Okay. Good evening. This is the March 28th, 2018 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Newcastle. Mr. Secretary?
Ready?
Yeah.
First case is Cheville.
I do have it. Hi.
Hi, good evening. My name is Patrick Croak. I'm the architect on the project we're presenting this evening. What we're presenting is an application for a special permit and for variances to allow the conversion of existing garage space to a space to be used for group instruction. Nothing on the drawings has materially changed since the last time we were before your board. Since then, we've addressed memos from planning, engineering, and I've got a new drawing here tonight which includes answers to the items from the memo from the planning board from their meeting 2 weeks ago. Let me just start by addressing those items. Planning board's had a few minor concerns. One being they wanted curbing around the driveway, around the tree that's in the middle of the existing driveway that we're proposing to keep. Hopefully we can. It's been there for a long time. It's in this area. We're proposing curbing relatively tight to the trunk of the tree. It's about a 6x8 curbed area. That's about as far out as we can go and still allow the traffic circulation around that tree. In addition, we will be providing irrigation to the base of that tree as was requested. They were concerned about composting. There is a compost barrel on the site currently, and that will over time be expanded to 3 composting barrels. Those are located on the side yard adjacent to an existing garden area. The waste management will be garbage pails in a secured outdoor shed. I've got a copy of it here. We've got a picture. It's a prefabricated plastic shed. It's got a sides, bottom, top, and it is securable by a lock, keep the animals out. Air conditioning condensers will be located as requested by the planning board in a space between the building and a small retaining wall at the left side to keep the noise away from the neighbors. Their final question was regarding site distances at the street. We've provided the site distances, and we have a meeting scheduled with someone from the engineering department to walk the site and the street tomorrow at 2:30 to review that and clarify a few small shrubs that will need to be removed to increase those site distances.
Are they on your property or are they on the town's?
They're on the town property, on the right-of-way.
But you would be responsible for the cutting the back?
Yes,
or-
I believe that's the way it's going.
We had also hoped by
Can you
tonight.
state your name for the record,
Michael
sir?
Surignano, I'm an attorney for the applicant. We had also hoped by tonight to have comments, if any, from the ARB, but 2 out of the 4 nor'easters pushed that meeting back till tonight. So we haven't yet heard if they have any thoughts or recommendations. But we would, in order to move this along, we would certainly appreciate if the board would consider acting on it tonight, subject to any conditions that the ARB thought were important enough to incorporate into the project.
Is that practical?
So what the board could do tonight, if the planning department, and I don't know if, and the engineer, the board can discuss, could close the public hearing tonight, subject to receipt of confirmation or receipt of comments from the ARB, but you could close the public hearing tonight, discuss the application, direct the planning department and legal counsel to draft a resolution that would be then acted on at the next meeting. I think that would be the appropriate procedure. You couldn't make a final determination tonight, but we could get to
Understood.
that step.
That would be progress.
As long as the planning department and engineering think that all the information that has been requested has been submitted now, and the board's ready to, has all the information it needs, subject to any further questions the board may have. And I don't know if there's any public comment tonight that anybody else is going to provide.
Yeah, and I think that both myself and the town engineer are satisfied. The site visit will also help clarify any issues with the clearing of that right-of-way. And if if you've made notations based on the planning board's comments on this plan, if that could be submitted to us, we can draft a resolution for your consideration at your next meeting. They have been attentive to addressing all of the comments and concerns, so we have all of the information. Or as of tomorrow afternoon with the site walk, we will have all of the information needed.
Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak to this application? No. Any comments, questions by the board?
I have one comment. I think I made it previously, but I want to just reiterate. I really don't have a lot of problem with this application. I think it should fit in the neighborhood and it should work well if it's done the way it's presented to us. What I do have a concern about is that in the event that someday the applicant leaves the premises, does that open us up to having somebody use this back barn for any other commercial purposes, such
No.
as maybe auto repair or something that would really be objectionable? How do we
It
control
would be
that?
limited to group instruction. The special permit is solely for group instruction.
Now, so as long as we can make sure that's in there,
Right.
then I'm okay with it. I don't have any other problems.
It's only for a group instruction. I suppose a new owner could bring in a different type of group instruction, but even
But
then.
wouldn't that be
I would think
subject to our
They would
approval
have
as
to come
well?
in for an amendment to the special use permit.
Yeah,
then.
it's just that it's a residential area, and I don't want to see anything later on that we're going to regret.
Right.
If we can keep that under control, then I'm fine with it,
We'll be clear. It's
when you do that,
It's
right?
clear that it's only for a group instruction
Correct.
special use
Good,
permit.
good.
So as long as, if the board doesn't have any other questions regarding any of the scope of the use, et cetera, you can move to close the public hearing and then discuss the application and direct us to draft a resolution if the board so chooses.
Okay, over here?
Yep.
I move that we close the public hearing.
And I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who'd like to make a motion?
Well, I think our motion is dependent upon the drafting of that
Drafting
of
the
resolution
resolution.
by our
Okay.
attorney.
It's just a discussion of the
But we
different
should-
special use permit requirements and the variance requirements, so that the planning department and legal counsel know how, you can direct us how to draft the resolution.
Well, in going through what we normally look at in a variance, I think this particular application is compliant in our the five criteria that we look at, with the way it's presented to us, and if our resolution could be drafted in that manner, along with the planning board's recommendations, and subject to architectural board review, I think we should go ahead and direct our legal staff and house staff to go ahead with the resolution for our next meeting to be acted upon.
And would the resolution conform to our notes as school, class size, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, it should.
Okay.
Right,
Right.
that would all be part of the, that would all be part of the resolution with respect to limitations on class size and the
Hours of
hours and the number
operation,
of classes
everything
during
that
the
you
week.
have discussed
Right,
and that
okay.
is required, it will
What
be
we've discussed
referenced.
previously should be all incorporated
Correct,
into this,
Okay.
correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Right. Those all go to each of the individual, the general special use permit requirements and the specific, and the ones that are specific to group instruction, so
right.
that have been previously discussed.
All of the notes that are on the plan, the number of parking spaces as identified on the lot, that will all be specified in the resolution.
One other thing one other contingency, I believe the town board still needs to approve the.
They did approve it.
Oh, they did
They
approve
did,
it
it,
last
need-
night?
it will be filed with New York State.
Okay,
That's
All right.
the number of parking spaces.
Yes, it's not the number of parking, it's the parking, the change in the code to reflect this board as having the parking authority. Regardless, the planning board during their referral 2 weeks ago did confirm the parking number and state that the 5 spaces as proposed were adequate.
Right, we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Eric, we'll get the memo, we'll get the resolution before the meeting to review.
assuming no more
Yes.
snowstorms.
We will do our best.
Okay.
So we just need direction, so the board should just take a straw poll as far as approval of the, directing us to draft the resolution, approving the special use permit, and granting the variances.
I'm in agreement.
Yeah, I am as well.
I'm in agreement. Yep.
I'm in agreement.
Do your job.
That's it?
Do we know the date of your next meeting? April 25? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome. Thanks. Good night.
You're welcome. Almost done.
Do we have to do anything regarding the variances at this?
I'll help you.
Eric,
Will the variances
do we
be
have to do
addressed
anything?
That'll be
in
part
that
of the resolution.
Yeah.
Will be within.
That'll all be incorporated in the resolution.
Yeah.
There'll be a side loud and the rear yard. Okay. You ready for the next one?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to modify our agenda and go to the trustees of the Presbyterian Society next, because they have to go to a planning board meeting, and we're trying to expedite them. Are they here? Looks like they're not here. What do
Not
we do
here.
with that?
It might be outside. Let me go. I'll go check.
The ARB.
I think it starts too late.
They're not here.
Okay.
And we'll take the agenda as it was written. Sunshine Children's Home.
First matter, as it relates to the Sunshine application, like to make a motion that the Zoning Board of Appeals be declared the lead agency in this matter.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And the 30-day notice period has passed, so you're authorized to proceed now with respect to the secret review and the review of the underlying application.
What is the,
So the public hearing was closed at the last meeting, subject to submission of written materials. You received written materials, so unless the board has further questions of the applicant or any of staff regarding any of the issues that were raised in the materials that were submitted, you could choose to discuss the application now, and then again, direct planning and legal counsel to draft a resolution indicating how you want to proceed with respect to the proposed application.
should we hear from, I don't know if this is a fair question or not, from the building department as it relates to work that has been going on at the site as it relates to the permits that were issued recently?
No, it doesn't relate.
It-
The work that's been happening
Yes,
has nothing to do with,
The application.
this application.
Right.
Okay.
I could make comments if you're.
Yeah, sure, go ahead, yes.
So
Please speak into your microphone.
I would like to discuss Sunshine Homes' application for an amendment to the site development plan associated with the amended special use permit previously granted on September 28, 2016. The proposed application seeks approval for certain modifications to the site development plan associated with the amended special use permit issued for the expansion of Sunshine's facility to address changes proposed by the planning board with respect to wetlands, steep slopes, and tree removal. On September 28, 2016, the zoning board issued a negative declaration of environmental significance under SECRA with respect to the issuance of the original amended special use permit. Copy of that determination is in the public records. I have reviewed that determination and have determined that the proposed modifications in the current application will not change these findings, nor will they result in any significant adverse environmental impacts. We have received memorandums from the Director of Planning and the Environmental Coordinator stating that it is in their opinion that the proposed modifications do not result in any significant environmental impacts, and that the modifications, if anything, actually reduce the environmental impacts. With respect to the claim that certain work done by the applicant in November 2017 requires the reopening of SECRA review process previously completed by the zoning board, or requires further examination, such determination is rebutted by the findings in the building inspector's January 16, 2018 memorandum, which included a memorandum from William Canavan, the town's hydrologist, also dated January 16, 2018. Mr. Canavan's memorandum included the following finding. It is in my opinion, these are his words, it is in my opinion that the deepening of well 1 does not negate or undermine any of the Zoning Board of Appeals determinations with respect to groundwater and will not have an adverse impact on off-site wells so long as well 1 is pumping at the rate of is limited to 10 gallons per minute. The Zoning Board has discussed all of these documents and arguments raised by the neighboring property owners and the applicant with respect to the environmental issues. And it is my belief that the work that was done in November has no potential significant adverse environmental impacts that require further review under SECRA. I do not think it is appropriate to consider attempts to reopen issues that have been previously determined by the zoning board, which are not impacted by the proposed modifications. For example, the Manichurians contend that the latest round of storms proved that Spring Valley Road location is not appropriate for the expanded facility. Access to the facility was specifically addressed with respect to the application in 2016, and nothing in the proposed modified site plan impacts the access to the site. Therefore, the information should not be considered when the zoning board makes its current environmental determination. This is especially true since there is no information that the facility was unable to operate during the storms. Similarly, the claims that another hospital facility in Ossining may impact wells in the area are also not relevant to the instant determination because the approvals for Sunshine's facility were granted prior to the approval for that facility. In fact, it appears that the new facility and its impacts are still being studied and will need to take into account the water impacts from Sunshine's expanded facility. I also do not believe that the proposed application modifies or changes any of the findings previously made by the zoning board with respect to the general and specific special use permit requirements set forth in the resolution granting the amended special use permit adopted on September 28, 2016. A copy of that resolution is also in the public records. This includes the following 5 general requirements applicable to all special use permits set forth in the town code at section 60-430B. 1. In a residence district, the proposed use will serve a community need or convenience. 2, the location and size of that use, the nature and intensity of the operations involved in it or conducted in the connection with it, the size of the site in relation to it, and the location of the site with respect to streets giving access to it are such that they will be in harmony with the appropriate orderly development of the district in which located. 3, the location, nature, and height of the buildings, walls, and fences, and the nature and extent of the existing or proposed plantings on the site are such that the use will not hinder or discourage the appropriate development and use of the adjacent land and buildings. 4, operations in connection with any special use will not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, fumes, vibrations, or other characteristics than would be the operation of every permitted use not requiring such a special permit. And 5, parking areas will be of adequate size for the particular use, properly located and suitably screened from adjoining residential uses, and the entrance and exit drives will be laid out so as to achieve the maximum and adequate safety. This also includes the following specific special use permit requirements relating to nursing homes included in Section 60-430C5. A, location. Nursing homes shall be permitted in residence districts only in locations fronting on or having direct access to a state or county road. And this was discussed in detail on our first
Right, and the variance was granted.
and a
with
variance
respect
was
to-
granted. The site size, B, the site size, the minimum site size for a nursing home in a residence district shall be 10 times the normally required minimum lot size for a one-family dwelling, as specified in Section 6410A, Schedule of Regulations for Residential Districts. C, density. The maximum permitted density shall not exceed 5 patient beds for each amount of land equal to the minimum lot size requirement for a one-family dwelling in a residence district in which it is located. If located in a non-residential zoning district, there shall be not more than 1 patient bed for each 2,500 square feet of lot area.
And again, that was subject to the variance.
Borough
right,
variance.
Previous variance granted,
Right.
right?
Granted. And D, coverage. Building coverage, including accessory buildings, shall not exceed 10% of the lot area, nor shall the sum total of the land covered with buildings and parking, including driveways, exceed 30% of the lot area within any residential district. And C, setbacks. All buildings shall be set back from adjoining properties in residence districts and from street lines directly opposite properties in residence districts, a distance equal to at least twice the height of such building, but in no case less than 50 feet, except 25 feet for accessory buildings, not over 1 story or 12 feet in height located in a side or rear yard. Off-street parking areas shall not be permitted in any required front yard, nor in any required side or rear yard within 15 feet of any adjoining property in a residence district. F, off-street parking and loading. Minimum off-street parking requirements for nursing homes shall be 1 space for each person employed on the maximum shift, including staff doctors, plus 1 space for each 2 patient beds. 1 off-street loading space shall be provided for each 100 patient beds or major portion thereof. G, buffer area. A landscape buffer area meeting at least the minimum requirements of Section 6420D2 of this chapter shall be required along all lot lines of adjoining properties in residence districts. And H, other requirements. In addition to the special standards described above, nursing homes shall comply with any other requirements of this chapter, any other special requirements deemed appropriate by the Board of Appeals, in accordance with the requirements of this Section 6430 and all other applicable laws and regulations governing nursing homes. In my belief, the current application meets all of those items. I do not believe that any general or specific requirements are impacted by the proposed modification. And for those reasons, I'm in favor of approving the application.
Do any members of the board feel that there are any general or specific requirements that are impacted by the proposed modification?
Or any environmental impacts with respect to the secret review?
If there are, we should state those for the record now.
No, I don't think there are any negative impacts with regard to this current application and modification. We're not talking about what we did before. What we did before is finished and done with. I think, given the input from our staff, is that this is reducing the impacts that we had previously approved. Therefore, I have to agree with Harvey. I think that this is okay with me, and I'm willing to vote for it.
Howard, are you in agreement?
I am.
Yes. Michael?
I agree with Tony.
Yes, I do also. And we would instruct council and our planner to draft the required documents.
Okay.
That's both the secret resolution and the
Yes,
resolution.
secret negative declaration and a
Negative.
approval of a further amended special use amended special use permit with respect to the proposed site plan.
Right.
So we'll have that for the next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have one question related to this application, but not related to the approvals of this permit. We submitted a letter yesterday. This is related to the offsite well monitoring program. Sorry, Adam Stollerow, Cy Pageant Roselle, Counsel for the Manicherians. The letter requested that the board consider setting a date for a public discussion of the offsite well monitoring program, and requesting specifically that the next CVA meeting on April 25th might be a good time for that, and asking that the board set a time for submissions from the public on the plan that was the plan from WSP that was provided on the date of the last CBA hearing, which was February 28th. So
Does that suggest that whatever protocols have been established, that in some way people have drawn a conclusion that they are inadequate, or?
I think members of the public have expressed concern about what's going to happen to their wells, the type of monitoring methods,
Right.
what the town's review process is going to be with respect to the methods, where, and it gets, it could get as detailed as where the flow meters go within the well, and it could also relate to, for example, the insurance requirements that are in the approval letter that people are being asked to sign. So there are a number of concerns like that my clients, and I know other members of the public, would like to discuss and share with the town. And at the last,
Why do you feel the proper place for discussion is
Building department?
at one of our meetings? I mean, we're not
so at the
reviewing anything specifically.
At the last meeting, Mark Chertok, who's another attorney in my firm, brought this up and said, we understand that we're not discussing this tonight, and the response from the board was there will be time for a public discussion on this.
Well, I think that may have been referring to, our planning department is going to be.
Well, we did receive the letter from Mr. Stollerow's firm. We received another letter from the consultant for the applicant. They're being considered by the appropriate town personnel. There'll be a response to those letters, but I don't, unless the board is prepared to act tonight, I don't think tonight's the appropriate time to address those, since we just got those letters, so.
So
Should
we
we
need
respond
further-
at any time? I mean.
That's the we have to
think
determine what
it's
the
in our
appropriate
purview.
response is.
I would
Exactly.
like the people in the town
Right.
staff that are responsible for reviewing all those documents to review them first and give us
Correct.
their
And either
feelings as
a
to what.
response will come from the zoning board, or will come from the planning department or the appropriate department to address the concerns that are raised by the members of the public.
And if that discussion is not going to happen before the zoning board, and it's more appropriate that there be some sort of public forum with the town planner, I mean, there There are
Yeah.
other ways to do it.
Yeah.
I think there are enough concerns that are shared by enough people that it would be helpful to have a discussion of that with a group of people rather than trying to answer concerns and questions individually.
So as council said, we received your letter, we received a response from the applicant. We need some time to kind of go through what those issues are and think of the correct forum. I do not believe that the Zoning Board of Appeals is the correct forum to get you the answers and to provide the residents who want to have their wells monitored the assurances that they need that this program is being conducted according to professional protocols. And some of their concerns the town may be able to clarify, others we may not be able to clarify, but we need some time to read through what all of those concerns are and determine the appropriate forum within which to address it. I do not believe that this board is the proper entity to address it right now. It may change after we review the information, but tonight is not the night to really dive into that
Oh, no, I
or to
wasn't-
ask for the zoning board to commit to something that they don't know yet is under their jurisdiction.
Okay, I was not asking for a dive into it, just to set sort of to set a date out there by when people could submit their comments, and then we could have a discussion about it.
We're taking it under consideration.
Okay. Fair
Has the Department of Health opined on this subject? And are they finished?
The
with their-
Westchester County Department of Health does not opine on a well monitoring program. There are specific, I would say, it's a specialty in hydrogeology on how you monitor groundwater if there are existing wells. If the applicant has provided their protocols to you as part of the original approval as to what that well monitoring program would look like. There is,
And our consultant has reviewed those.
and our consultant has reviewed that. Our consultant is continually involved.
Right.
The applicant, as part of the building permits that were received in January, has committed to providing documentation to the town regarding water usage and update us on the efforts of getting people to sign on to their well monitoring program. Professional experience in this arena is that they usually do not obtain enough volunteers to really create a solid record when it comes to the well monitoring. The applicant has not yet reported to us whether or not they've gotten enough volunteers to substantiate a monitoring program. We have a requirement, as you had incorporated in your approvals, of a certain number. So it's still in development. If there are concerns or questions that the public has, we would want to know what those concerns and questions are so we can try and figure out the best forum to get the answers out there. Because the town is interested in not only protecting the applicant, but protecting those residents. And we want to make sure that this is done according to protocols. The town has engaged our consulting hydrogeologist to monitor the work that is being done by the applicant's hydrogeologist, because the last thing we want to see are individual wells affected by this expansion, and the applicant doesn't want to see that happen either. So again, finding that right forum, understanding what questions that your clients have regarding this program is something that we need to sit down and go through.
Okay, is now the appropriate time for people to be submitting comments to the town about their concerns about
Absolutely.
the protocol?
Absolutely. At any time, they can send an email, they can drop off, they can come in and visit, they can pick up the phone and call. I would want to clarify anything that, that is going on to make sure that this is conducted properly.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Clarify the record. Mark Weingarten, on behalf of the applicant, firstly, we appreciate and thank you for your hard work. The 2 points on the well monitoring, we would have been in a position to report back to you today as to how many people had responded and all the things enclosed, but we were asked to extend the period of time in which to do that. We were told that people didn't have enough time to do that, so that period hasn't expired. When that expires, we will be telling the town exactly how many people have come in, and that's when the choices will be made. Second, and it was in the letter that was sent to you by Cy Pageant, it was mentioned again by council tonight, it was not at the meeting. We had an attorney go back and watch the transcript from the last meeting, and I can tell you, unabashedly, there was no commitment by this board to review the well monitoring program or to solicit public comment. It's just not a factual statement, and we wanted to make sure that the record reflected the fact, and the record speaks for itself. Thank you.
Okay. Next matter?
That's it?
Next matter. Has anyone from the Presbyterian Society entered the hall?
Are they in with the ARB now, or
They might be downstairs waiting.
if not, then we can just adjourn until
Yeah.
the next meeting?
Yeah.
Maybe they thought we weren't gonna hear it because the ARB hadn't come.
Thank you.
Welcome. While we're waiting, I move that we adopt the meeting minutes for the February 28th meeting.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No?
They don't
Okay.
have to be with the ARB till after 8, so, and they did meet with the town engineer today at 4. I wonder if,
And they may, there's additional information they need to submit, so maybe they assume
it
that
would
it
have just
would
been a
not be.
formality of just coming and
that
saying
there
they're
was- yeah.
working on it.
Okay.
So I think you can adjourn the
Yeah.
public, you can make a motion to adjourn to continue the
So
public hearing to
Ken
the
and-
next meeting.
Okay.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
That's it. Okay, we're off.
Okay.
Did we approve the minutes?
Yes,
You
we
did.
did.
You voted hard.
Thank you. Did you get it?
Yeah.
That was an easy one.
All right.
Some of them are not that easy.
Don't let it